She was only 23 when her life changed forever through a message on Facebook. It was October 2019, and the young Turkish woman from Ankara was living with her parents in a small apartment, working as a saleswoman in a clothing store for a salary that barely covered her basic needs. Like many young women her age, Aishi dreamed of a better life, perhaps studying abroad or finding opportunities that her hometown did not offer. It was at this vulnerable moment that Robert Harrison entered her life. Robert, 67, introduced himself as a retired American businessman from Seattle. His first messages were polite, respectful, and full of genuine curiosity about Turkish culture. "I've always wanted to visit Turkey," he wrote. "It's such a country rich in history and beauty." He shared photos of his home, an impressive property overlooking the sea, with well-kept gardens and spacious, tastefully decorated rooms. "I've been living alone since my wife passed away 5 years ago," Robert shared in the first few weeks of conversation. "Cancer took her quickly. Since then, the house feels very empty." His words touched Aishi's heart, as she had always been compassionate toward others. Robert seemed genuinely lonely, a kind man seeking companionship and meaning in his golden years. What Aishi didn't know was that Robert Harrison had developed an almost scientific method for identifying and targeting vulnerable young women in developing countries. His search was not random. He studied profiles carefully, looking for specific signs. Young women from working-class families who posted about financial difficulties, who showed interest in travel or education abroad, who seemed isolated or dissatisfied with their current circumstances. Aishi ticked all these boxes perfectly. During the first month, Robert was the ideal suitor. He sent flowers through international delivery services, carefully chosen gifts that showed he was paying attention to their conversations. When she mentioned that she loved to read, he sent her books in English with affectionate dedications. When she posted about a problem with her cell phone, a new iPhone appeared at her door a week later. "You shouldn't spend so much money on me," Aishi protested during one of their daily video calls. "A special woman deserves to be treated like a princess," Robert replied with his fatherly smile. "Besides, what good is money if I can't use it to make the person I care about happy?" The conversations gradually became more intimate. Robert shared details of his life, how he built his import business from scratch, the trips he took around the world, the investments that allowed him to retire comfortably at age 60. He talked about his values, his faith, his desire to find a partner who shared his dreams of a simple and happy life. "I don't care about age," he often said. "What matters is the connection of souls, and I feel that our souls recognized each other from the first day." Aishi began to dream of possibilities she never imagined were within her reach. Robert talked about taking her to see the United States, about how she could study English, maybe go to college, build a career. "A brilliant mind like yours deserves every opportunity," he insisted. Aishi's parents initially expressed caution. "He's much older," her mother worried. "And he's so far away. How can we know if he's a good person?" But Robert was smart in addressing these concerns. He organized video calls with the family, always respectful, speaking a few words in Turkish that he had learned especially to impress them. He sent gifts to her parents, beautiful shawls for her mother, a stylish watch for her father. Gradually, he became a beloved presence in the family's life. "He seems genuinely in love with you," Aishi's father admitted after 3 months of regular communication. "And his intentions seem serious." At the end of January 2020, Robert popped the question Aishi had begun to expect. "Will you marry me?" The proposal came during a special video call he had arranged. Flowers were delivered to her home moments before the call began. Robert was dressed formally, holding a small blue velvet box. "I know it's fast," he said, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "But when you know, you know. I love you, Aishi. I want to build a beautiful life with you in America." Through tears of joy, Aishi said yes. What she couldn't have imagined was that the same ring had been used in similar proposals to at least 4 other young women over the past 10 years, and that Robert Harrison wasn't exactly who he said he was. March 2020 brought a mountain of paperwork and the beginning of what Robert called our journey to be together forever. The K-1 visa, known as the fiancé visa, would allow Aishi to enter the United States to marry Robert within 90 days. It seemed like a dream come true. "The process is complex, but don't worry," Robert reassured her during one of their daily calls. "I've been through this before. Not with marriage, of course, but I've helped other family members with immigration. I know all the tricks to speed things up." Robert took complete control of the process. He hired an immigration lawyer, organized all the forms, and coordinated the necessary translations. "It's better if I take care of it," he insisted whenever Aishi offered to help. "The American system is very complicated, and one small mistake can delay everything for months." Aishi was grateful for the help, but she began to notice something strange. Robert never showed her the complete documents. When she asked about specific details, he would say things like, "Don't worry about the technical aspects," or "Let me take care of the paperwork." "But I should understand what I'm signing," she protested on one occasion. "Of course, my love," Robert replied patiently. "But you trust me, don't you? I would never do anything that wasn't in your best interest." The first real red flag appeared in April, when Robert began asking detailed questions about Aishi's family and friends. These weren't casual questions. He wanted full names, occupations, addresses, family relationships. He said it was for immigration forms. "They ask about all your close contacts," he explained. "It's a security protocol. They want to make sure you don't have any dangerous connections." Aishi provided the information, but became uncomfortable when Robert began suggesting that she limit her conversations with certain people. "Your friend Elif seems very negative about relationships," he observed, after Aishi mentioned a conversation with her best friend. "Maybe it's better not to share all the details of our relationship with her. Jealous people might try to sabotage our happiness." Similarly, Robert began to express concern about how Aishi's family might be depending too much on her financially. "When you come to America," he said, "it will be important to establish a new life. We can't let past obligations prevent us from building our future. During this period, the gifts kept coming, but now they came with subtle conditions." A new laptop arrived with the explanation, "So we can communicate better, but please only use it to talk to each other. I don't want strangers on the internet to have access to you." An expensive dress came with a note, "For you to wear on our special video calls for my eyes only." In May, Robert announced that there was an opportunity to expedite the visa process. "My lawyer found a legal loophole," he explained enthusiastically. "If you agree to sign some additional documents, we can cut the waiting time in half." The additional documents included a power of attorney that would give Robert legal authority to act on Aishi's behalf in immigration matters, and a prenuptial agreement that she could barely understand. When she asked for time to review everything carefully, Robert became visibly irritated for the first time. "Aishi, you said you trusted me," he said, with a coldness in his voice she had never heard before. "If we start questioning every detail, we'll never be able to be together. Other couples have gone through this without any problems." "What other couples?" she asked, curious. Robert hesitated for a moment before answering, "Well, my cousin has been through this process, and I know other people. The important thing is that it works." The hesitation was brief, but Aishi noticed it. Still, her love for Robert and her dream of a better life in America outweighed her doubts. She signed the documents. June brought more changes in Robert's behavior. He started calling at specific times and became agitated if she didn't answer immediately. "Where were you at 2 p.m.?" he would ask. "I tried to call you 3 times." When Aishi explained that she was working or with her family, Robert expressed concern for her safety. "Turkey can be dangerous for a beautiful young woman," he would say. "I'd rather know where you are at all times." He suggested she install a location app on her phone for emergencies. When she hesitated, he was hurt. "I thought we wanted to be completely open with each other," he said sadly. "If you have something to hide—" "I have nothing to hide," Aishi hastened to reassure him. "It just seems too intense." "Aishi, when two hearts come together, there are no secrets," Robert replied in his most affectionate voice. "This app is just a way for me to feel closer to you until we can be together physically." Reluctantly, she installed the app. In July, the visa was approved. Aishi was scheduled to travel to the United States in September. The news should have been cause for pure joy, but it came with a detailed list of necessary preparations from Robert. "It will be best if you don't keep in close contact with people in Turkey during your first few months here," he suggested. "The adjustment process is delicate, and outside influences can make it more difficult." He also began to control her finances more directly. "Don't worry about money for the trip," he said. "I'll take care of everything. In fact, it would be better if you didn't carry too much of your own money. The American authorities may ask questions about its origin." When Aishi's parents expressed a desire to visit her in the United States after the wedding, Robert was quick to discourage them. "The first year is crucial for cultural adjustment," he explained during a family video call. "It's best to wait until she's completely settled before we have visitors." The family was disappointed, but Robert sounded so knowledgeable about American rules that they didn't question him. In August, a month before the trip, Robert made another important revelation. "My love, I need to tell you something that may come as a shock," he said during a private call. "I had to move out temporarily, some problems with renovations at the main house." He explained that they would initially live in a more modest property he owned in rural Washington. "It's more isolated but very romantic," he described. "It will be perfect for our extended honeymoon." Aishi felt a twinge of concern. The house Robert always showed her was one of the reasons she felt secure about the move. It represented stability and success. Now it seemed that reality was changing. "How long will we stay there?" she asked. "Not long," Robert replied vaguely. "Just until we sort out some legal details. You don't mind, do you? After all, what matters is that we're together." Once again, Aishi swallowed her doubts. Love, she convinced herself, meant flexibility and trust. At the end of August, while packing for her new life, Aishi received an unexpected call from Elif, her best friend. "Aishi, I need to tell you something strange," Elif said. "My cousin works at a travel agency, and she said she saw online ads from an older American man looking for traditional Turkish brides." The description sounded familiar. "Elif, please," Aishi interrupted, irritated. "Robert isn't like that. You don't know him like I do." I know, Elif backed down. "It's just, promise me you'll be careful and that you'll keep in touch with me." "Of course I will," Aishi promised, not mentioning Robert's suggestions about limiting outside communications. As she hung up the phone, a small but persistent part of her mind began asking questions she didn't want to answer. But it was too late to turn back now. Her flights were booked, her life in Turkey was being dismantled, and Robert was waiting for her in America. What could possibly go wrong? Seattle-Tacoma International Airport was bustling on the morning of September 15th, 2020. Aishi emerged from customs with 2 large suitcases and a heart full of anticipation and nervousness. After a 14-hour journey, she was finally in America, about to start her new life with the man she loved. Robert was waiting for her with a bouquet of flowers and a smile that seemed genuine. He looked exactly like he did on video calls. neatly combed grey hair, casual but elegant clothes, glasses that gave him an intellectual air. When they hugged for the first time in person, Aishi felt a mixture of relief and happiness. Everything finally seemed real. "Welcome to your new home, my love," Robert whispered in her ear. "The journey was tiring, but now we are together forever." During the drive from the airport, Robert was attentive and talkative. He pointed out tourist attractions, explained details about Seattle, and talked about plans for the next few days. "First, let's go home so you can rest," he said. "Tomorrow we can go to the registry office to start the marriage process. We have 90 days, but I'd rather not leave it to the last minute." Aishi agreed, admiring the scenery through the window. Everything seemed promising. The first discrepancy appeared after an hour of driving, when Robert took the exit from the main highway and began driving on smaller, more rural roads. "I thought your house was closer to the city," Aishi commented. "This isn't my main house," Robert reminded her, but there was something different in his tone, less patient than before. "As I explained, we're staying temporarily at the country estate because of renovations. You remember, don't you?" "Of course," Aishi replied quickly, feeling a twinge of embarrassment. "Sorry, jet lag is making me confused." They continued driving for another 30 minutes, entering an increasingly isolated region. The houses became sparse, then non-existent. The road turned into a dirt track. Aishi began to feel a growing anxiety, but forced herself to remain calm. Robert knew what he was doing. The country estate that appeared at the end of the road was very different from what she had imagined. It was an old mobile home with peeling paint and neglected gardens. There were no other houses in sight in any direction. The silence was complete, broken only by the wind in the trees. "It's not exactly what I expected," Robert admitted, noticing Aishi's expression. "But it's temporary, and it has everything we need. Total privacy for our honeymoon." Aishi forced a smile. "Of course. Like you said, the important thing is that we're together." Upon entering the house, she immediately noticed the smell of mold and the dated decor. The furniture was old and worn, very different from the elegant photos Robert had shared for months. But what disturbed her most was the number of locks on the front door, not one or two, but 5 different locks, including 2 deadbolts that could only be opened from the inside. "Why so many locks?" she asked, trying to keep her tone casual. "Security," Robert replied briefly. "This area can be dangerous at night. Wild animals, sometimes strange people. It's better to be safe." That first night, Robert was kind and attentive. He cooked a simple meal, showed her where the rooms were, helped her unpack. But Aishi noticed small, strange details. There was no landline in the house, her cell phone coverage was almost non-existent, and when she asked about Wi-Fi, Robert said there were technical issues that would be resolved soon. "For now, we can use my phone when you need to talk to your family," he offered. "There's no rush. Just let them know you've arrived safely and that you're happy." The next morning, Robert's true personality began to emerge. Aishi woke up late. Jet lag had affected her sleep, and found Robert in the kitchen with a grim expression. "It's 11 a.m., he said coldly. "In America, responsible people wake up early." Aishi blinked, confused by the sudden change in tone. "I'm sorry, I'm still adjusting to the time zone." "There are no excuses here," Robert interrupted. "If you want to be my wife, you need to learn the American rules. Rule number 1, we wake up at 6:30 a.m. every day." Over breakfast, Robert presented a list of expectations he had prepared. Aishi was to keep the house spotless, prepare all meals, ask permission before leaving the property, and show appropriate gratitude for everything he was doing for her. "You understand that you are here because of my generosity, right?" he said, watching her closely. "Without me, you'd still be stuck in that small life in Turkey. Gratitude is the foundation of a successful marriage." Aishi felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. This was not the caring, respectful Robert she knew. "Of course I'm grateful," she murmured. "It's just that This seems very different from what we discussed." "What did we discuss?" Robert laughed dryly. "Aishi, you are an inexperienced young woman from a developing country. I am an established American man who knows how things work here. It will be better for both of us if you simply trust my guidance." That day, when Aishi tried to use her cell phone to send a message to her family, she discovered that Robert had changed the Wi-Fi password and her cell phone coverage was still non-existent. "Why did you change the password?" she asked. "For our safety," Robert replied without looking up from his newspaper. "There are hackers everywhere. When you need to use the internet, you can ask me." "When can I call my family?" "Soon. First, let's get settled here. They'll understand." But the days passed, without any opportunity for outside contact. There was always an excuse: technical problems, inappropriate timing, privacy issues. When Aishi insisted, Robert became angry for the first time. "You came here to build a life with me," he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "Not to run after your family like a child. If you want to be an American married woman, you need to stop being emotionally dependent on people who are thousands of miles away." Aishi began to cry, which only made the situation worse. "And those dramatic tears don't work on me," Robert continued coldly. "I'm not like Turkish men who give in to emotional manipulation. Here, you will learn self-discipline." That night, for the first time since her arrival, Robert was not affectionate. He lay with his back to her and did not respond when she tried to apologize. Aishi stayed up late, wondering what had gone wrong and how she could fix things. The next morning, Robert acted as if nothing had happened, but he laid down new rules. Aishi was not to leave the house without him. The car keys remained in his exclusive possession. He installed more locks on the doors, for extra protection. "It's dangerous for a young foreign woman to walk around here alone," he explained reasonably. "Until you learn English better and understand local customs, it's safer if I accompany you everywhere." When Aishi timidly protested that her English was good, Robert laughed. "Your English is basic, dear, suitable for simple conversations, but not for navigating American society on your own. You trust me to guide you, don't you?" Physically isolated, cut off from communication with the outside world, and emotionally shaken by the sudden changes in Robert's behavior, Aishi began to question her own perception of reality. Maybe he was right. Maybe she really didn't understand how things worked in America. But at night, alone with her thoughts while Robert slept, a small but persistent voice in her mind whispered that something was terribly wrong. She just didn't know yet how wrong things really were. 3 weeks after her arrival, Aishi had settled into a stifling routine. She woke up at 6:30 a.m., made coffee for Robert, cleaned the house, cooked, and waited. Always waiting for permission, for explanations, for a moment of kindness that rarely came. Robert had become increasingly controlling. He locked her cell phone in a safe for security and monitored her every move inside the house. When Aishi asked about marriage, after all, her K-1 visa was time-limited, he always found an excuse to postpone. "There are some bureaucratic issues that my lawyer is working out," he would say vaguely. "Don't worry about deadlines. I'll take care of everything." But Aishi began to notice inconsistencies in his stories. Robert claimed to be a retired businessman, but he never received business calls, official correspondence, or had any visible documentation of his supposed wealth. The mobile home had cheap furniture and old appliances, nothing that suggested the lifestyle he had promised. The discovery that changed everything happened one morning when Robert left to take care of business in town. His mysterious absences had become more frequent. Desperate to find some way to contact her family, Aishi decided to search for a phone or device that Robert might have hidden. It was in the master bedroom, carefully rummaging through his belongings, that she found a small shoebox under the bed. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were dozens of photographs of young women. They all appeared to be between 20 and 30 years old, all from different countries: the Philippines, Vietnam, Colombia, Ukraine, Morocco. Along with the photos were documents, copies of passports, visa forms, and most shocking of all, marriage certificates with at least 6 different names. One folder contained newspaper clippings. "Filipina woman disappears after marriage to American," read a headline from 2015. "Young Ukrainian woman found dead on rural property," read another from 2017. "Police investigate disappearance of international bride," from 2019. Aishi's hands were shaking so much that she almost dropped the papers. In one of the articles, she recognized a photo. It was Robert, but with a different name, David Miller. In another, he appeared as James Wilson. At the bottom of the box, she found a notebook with detailed notes. They were profiles of women, including herself. Aishi Demir, 23, Ankara, Turkey. Vulnerabilities, family poverty, desire to emigrate, social isolation, strategy, quick romance, promises of stability, gradual isolation. There were notes about other women: eliminated, too suspicious; eliminated, family too involved; eliminated, resisted control. And for some, permanently resolved, no further family contact. Aishi began to hyperventilate. The implications were clear and terrifying. Robert was not her first target. He had a systematic pattern of attracting vulnerable women, isolating them, and when they became problems, the consequences were fatal. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway sent her into a panic. Quickly, she put everything back in the box and repositioned it under the bed exactly as she had found it. When Robert came in, Aishi was in the kitchen pretending to prepare lunch, but her hands were still shaking uncontrollably. "Are you okay?" Robert asked, studying her face with those cold eyes she had learned to fear. "Yes, just homesick," she lied. He watched her for a long moment. "You know, Aishi, I've been thinking that maybe it's time for you to stop thinking of Turkey as home. Your home is here now, with me, forever." The word forever sounded like a death sentence. That night, after Robert fell asleep, Aishi lay awake making plans. She needed to escape, but how? She was miles from civilization, with no phone, no car, no money, and now she knew that Robert was far more dangerous than she had imagined. 2 days later, an opportunity arose. Robert announced that he would need to leave town for 2 days to take care of urgent legal matters. "Will you be okay on your own?" he asked. But there was an underlying threat in the question. "Remember, there's nowhere to go here, and I have friends in the area who keep an eye on things for me." "Of course," Aishi replied submissively. "I'll take the opportunity to clean the whole house." As soon as Robert left, Aishi sprang into action. First, she searched for money hidden in the house. She found only $60 in a drawer. Then she examined the locks on the front door. To her surprise, she discovered that 2 of them could be opened from the inside, even without a key. But her biggest stroke of luck came when she found an old cell phone in a kitchen drawer, apparently forgotten or considered useless by Robert. When she managed to turn it on, she discovered that it had battery power and, miraculously, a faint signal bar. With trembling hands, she dialed the American emergency number, 911. 911, what is your emergency? My name is Aishi Demir. I need help. My husband, he's not who he says he is. I found photos of other dead women. Ma'am, can you give me your location? Aishi realized with horror that she didn't know exactly where she was. I don't know the address. It's a mobile home on a rural road, about an hour from Seattle. Ma'am, I can hear you clearly. I'm going to track your location through the cell tower. Are you in immediate danger? He's out of town, but he'll be back tomorrow. Please, you need to get me out of here. He's killed other women. I saw the news reports. The call dropped. Aishi tried to call again, but the phone had lost signal completely. She spent the next few hours trying to get a connection, walking around the property, holding the phone up high, desperate. Finally, she got a brief connection and called her family in Turkey. The call lasted only seconds before dropping, but it was enough time to shout in Turkish, "Ainem beni ara, telikdeyim. Mom, call me, I'm in danger." The next morning, Robert returned earlier than expected. Aishi was pretending to clean when he walked in, but something in his expression had changed. He was more tense, more suspicious. "I got some interesting calls yesterday," he said slowly, watching her every reaction. "It seems someone made emergency calls from this area and also an international call." Aishi's heart nearly stopped. "I don't know anything about that." "Are you sure?" Robert moved closer to her. "Because if you tried to contact someone, that would be disappointing. Very disappointing." He went to the drawer where Aishi had found the phone. It was empty. "Where is the old phone you kept here?" I don't know anything about any phone," Aishi stammered. Robert studied her for a long moment, then walked to her bedroom. Aishi heard drawers being opened, objects being moved. When he returned, his face was livid with anger. "You've been going through my things," he said, in a dangerously low voice. "No, Don't lie to me," he roared, making her cringe. "You found my collection of memories, didn't you? Did you see the photos? Did you read the newspapers?" Tears began to stream down Aishi's face. "Please, Robert, I won't tell anyone." "No," he said calmly, his anger suddenly controlled. "You really won't." At that moment, Aishi knew she had crossed a line from which there was no return, and that her chances of seeing Turkey again had just diminished dramatically. The atmosphere in the mobile home had become stifling since Robert discovered that Aishi had touched his belongings. For 3 days, he watched her like a predator studying its prey, waiting for the right moment to act. Aishi lived in constant terror, knowing that every move could be her last. Robert had installed more restrictions, additional locks on the doors, bars on the windows, and a system of internal cameras that he monitored obsessively. "For our safety," he explained with a cold smile. "You never know when unwanted visitors might show up." Meanwhile, 11,000 kilometers away, Aishi's family was in a state of total panic. Aishi's mother had received that desperate phone call lasting only a few seconds, and since then they had been unable to contact her. Elif, her best friend, had contacted Turkish and American authorities, but the bureaucratic process was too slow. "She said she was in danger," Aishi's mother cried on the phone to the Turkish consulate in Seattle. "My daughter would never lie about this. Something terrible is happening." Aishi's father had hired a private investigator in Seattle, but without an exact address, the search was like looking for a needle in a haystack. All they had was the name Robert Harrison, which, as they discovered, had been used by at least 3 different men in similar cases over the past 10 years. In the mobile home, Robert finally decided to break the tense silence. "Aishi," he said one October morning, "we need to talk about your future." She was making coffee, trying to keep her hand steady. "About what?" "About the fact that you've become a problem." His voice was eerily calm. "You see, I really liked you, more than the others. I thought we could have something special, but you turned out to be disappointing." Aishi slowly turned to face him. For the first time in weeks, there was something different in her eyes. Not just fear, but determination. "Who are the other women in the photos?" she asked directly. Robert smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Women like you, young, beautiful, naive. Women who thought they could have a better life in America. What happened to them?" "They discovered that some opportunities come with permanent costs." Aishi felt her blood run cold, but she forced herself to continue. The police are looking for me. My family reported me." Robert laughed genuinely now. "Oh, my dear child. Do you think you're the first to say that? Do you think I don't know how to deal with worried families and incompetent police officers?" He moved closer to her, and Aishi instinctively backed away until she had nowhere else to go. "Do you know what the problem is with women like you?" he continued. "You come here thinking you're special, that you deserve more than your small, pathetic lives. But in the end, you find out you're just disposable." Robert opened a drawer and took out something that made Aishi's heart stop, a large, sharp kitchen knife. "No!" she screamed, trying to run, but he grabbed her by the arm. "Shh!" he whispered in her ear. "It won't hurt for long. I have experience." It was at that moment that something inside Aishi broke. Not her resistance, but her willingness to be a passive victim. She thought of her family, her friends, all the other women in the photographs who never came home. "No!" she screamed, and with strength she didn't know she possessed, she pushed Robert with all her might. He stumbled, surprised by her unexpected resistance, and the knife flew from his hand. Aishi ran to the front door, but the multiple locks slowed her down for precious seconds. Robert recovered quickly and caught up with her. "You little bitch!" he roared, grabbing her by the hair. "You'll pay for this!" They fought violently. Robert was stronger, but Ace was fighting for her life. She managed to scratch his face deeply, causing him to scream in pain and momentarily let go of her. Running into the kitchen, she grabbed a heavy pan and turned to face him when he followed her. "You can't kill me!" she shouted. "The police already know about you. My family already knows." "The police don't know anything," Robert shouted back, holding his bloody face, "and your family will never find your body." He lunged again, but this time Ace was ready. She swung the pan with all her might, hitting him in the temple. Robert staggered, disoriented, giving her a chance to run for the door. This time, she managed to unlock the locks quickly. The adrenaline had cleared her mind. She ran out of the mobile home for the first time in weeks, but where to run? She was in the middle of nowhere, with no shoes, no phone, and no idea which direction to take. She heard Robert behind her, shouting obscenities and threats. Aishi chose the dirt road and ran as she had never run in her life. Her bare feet bled on the gravel, but she didn't stop. Behind her, she heard the sound of a car starting. Robert was coming after her. That's when she saw something that looked like a miracle. Flashing lights in the distance coming toward her. A police car. Aishi ran toward the vehicle, waving desperately. The car stopped and 2 officers jumped out. Ma'am, are you okay?" "He tried to kill me," she shouted in English, pointing behind her. "Robert Harrison, he killed other women." At that moment, Robert's car appeared around the bend behind her, but when he saw the police, he slammed on the brakes and tried to reverse. "Suspect attempting to flee," one of the officers shouted into his radio, while the other ran to the patrol car. What followed was a high-speed chase through the rural roads of Washington, which ended when Robert lost control and crashed into a tree. When the paramedics arrived, Aishi was in shock but alive. Robert was hospitalized with serious injuries but survived, and was immediately arrested. "How did you know where to find me?" Aishi asked one of the detectives at the hospital. "Your family never stopped looking for you," he replied. "The private investigator they hired finally tracked down your general location through the cell tower of your last call. We had been patrolling the area for 2 days." Tears of relief streamed down Aishi's face. "My family, do they know I'm okay?" "They're on their way," the detective smiled. "They took the first flight from Istanbul as soon as they heard." Later, when they searched the mobile home, the police found enough evidence to connect Robert Harrison to at least 6 disappearances of young women over 15 years. The shoebox Aishi had discovered was just the beginning. They found a secret basement with more souvenirs from his previous victims. "You are very brave," the detective told Aishi, "and very lucky. If you hadn't resisted, if you hadn't managed to make that emergency call, Acey didn't need him to finish the sentence. She knew exactly how close she had come to becoming just another photo in Robert Harrison's macabre collection. That night, speaking to her family via video call from the hospital, Acey promised herself that she would use her experience to warn other women. She would never let anyone else go through what she had gone through. Her fight for her life was over, but her fight for justice was just beginning. 6 months later, in Seattle federal court, Acey found herself on the witness stand, facing the man who had tried to destroy her life. Robert Harrison, whose real name they discovered was William Foster, sat at the defense table. A far cry from the confident man she had met online. The investigation had revealed a systematic operation that had lasted 2 decades. William operated under multiple identities, using fake profiles on social media to identify vulnerable women from developing countries. He studied the psychology of manipulation and isolation techniques, and had perfected his method over the years. Mr. Foster, said the prosecutor, had developed an almost industrial system for attracting, isolating, and eliminating young immigrant women. The evidence shows at least 12 confirmed victims over 20 years. The courtroom was full. Family members of the victims who had traveled from around the world, journalists, women's rights activists. Acey's family had remained in the United States throughout the trial, supporting her unconditionally. During her testimony, Acey spoke not only about her own experience, but about the other women whose photos she had found in the mobile home. "He showed me photographs like trophies," she said in a steady voice. Each one represented a stolen life, a destroyed family, dreams that never came true. Maria, from the Philippines, was 24 and wanted to be a nurse. Olena, from Ukraine, was a teacher and dreamed of opening a school in America. Elena, from Colombia, left a 3-year-old daughter with her grandmother. The emotional impact in the room was palpable. Several jurors wiped away tears as Acey continued. "He didn't see these women as people. We were objects, collectibles. And when we became problems, when we questioned, when we tried to contact our families, when we showed any sign of independence, he discarded us." The defense tried to argue mental disorder, but the evidence showed meticulous planning. William had kept detailed records of each victim, their psychological vulnerabilities, specific manipulation strategies, timelines for escalating control. It was the work of a calculating predator, not someone mentally incapacitated. The turning point of the trial came when the prosecution presented digital evidence. William had filmed some of his victims without their knowledge, documenting his process of psychological breakdown. The videos were too disturbing to be shown publicly, but the jurors who watched them were visibly shaken. Dr. Sarah Chen, a forensic psychologist specializing in sexual predators, testified about William's psychological profile. "The defendant exhibits classic characteristics of a systematic sexual predator with psychopathic tendencies," she explained. "He developed a specific methodology to identify vulnerable victims, gain their trust through false promises, isolate them from support systems, and then exert total control. When victims resisted or became inconvenient, he eliminated them without remorse." During the trial, the truth about William's life also emerged. He was not a retired businessman. He was a former insurance company employee who had been fired for sexual harassment. He did not own the elegant home he showed in photos. They were images stolen from real estate websites. His only real property was the isolated mobile home where he kept his victims. The families of the other victims finally got the answers they had been seeking for years. The bodies of 6 women were found buried on a rural property William owned in Oregon. 6 others remain missing, but circumstantial evidence suggested similar fates. The trial lasted 3 months. In December 2021, William Foster was convicted on 6 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted murder, 12 counts of kidnapping, and multiple violations of immigration laws. He received 6 life sentences without the possibility of parole. During the sentencing, the judge addressed Aishi specifically. Ms. Demir, your courage not only saved your own life, but brought justice to women who did not have the opportunity to tell their stories. Your testimony ensured that this predator will never again be able to harm others. After the trial, Aishi made a decision that would change her life again, but this time by choice. She decided to remain in the United States, not as a victim, but as an activist. With support from women's rights organizations, she established the Aishi Foundation, an organization dedicated to educating women about the dangers of online relationships with international predators. "My experience almost killed me," she said during her first public lecture. "But if I can use that experience to save other women, then it had purpose." The foundation has developed educational programs in multiple languages, warning about red flags of online predators. Red flags all women should know: rapid romantic progression, declarations of love after only a few weeks, gradual isolation, suggestions to limit contact with family friends, financial control, offers to take care of everything related to money, inconsistencies in stories, details that change or don't align, pressure for secrecy. Our relationship is too special for others to understand. Rushed legal documents, hurrying to sign powers of attorney or agreements, geographic isolation, insistence on living far from urban centers, communication control, monitoring or restricting phone, internet, multiple online identities, inconsistent profiles or contradictory information, stories of victimization. Always blames others for problems in their life. The Aishi Foundation also works with international authorities to identify and monitor similar predators. In 5 years, it has helped identify and prosecute 12 other men using similar tactics. Aishi remarried in 2024, this time to Marcus, a civil rights lawyer she met while volunteering. Unlike her experience with William, this relationship was built slowly, based on mutual respect and complete transparency. The difference, she explains in her lectures, is that Marcus never tried to isolate me from my family or friends. He encouraged me to maintain my connections, to follow my dreams, to be independent. True love sets you free. It doesn't imprison you. She and Marcus had a daughter in 2025, Elif, named after the best friend who never stopped looking for her. Today, Aishi divides her time between educational lectures, working with victims of human trafficking, and collaborating with international police forces. She has become a recognized expert on online predators and a frequent witness in similar cases. "William Foster thought he would destroy me," Aishi says at the end of her presentations. "Instead, he gave me a mission. Every woman we manage to warn, every predator we identify, every life we save, that is my revenge against him, and justice for all the women who did not survive." Aishi's story has become a case study in universities, police academies, and international protection programs. Her memoir, Surviving the American Predator, has been translated into 15 languages and has helped raise global awareness about this specific type of crime. By 2025, statistics show a 30% reduction in similar cases in countries where the Aishi Foundation's educational programs have been implemented. William Foster remains in federal prison, where he will likely die, but his legacy of terror has been transformed through the courage of a young Turkish woman into a force for protection and justice. The girl who once dreamed of a better life in America finally found it, not through the empty promises of a predator, but through her own strength, determination, and refusal to let evil triumph. Her story continues to save lives every day.